Welcome to our webinar tonight, where we're going to discuss the Prost-FIT Live Longer and Stronger with Exercise, the Prost-FIT program that we at the Prostate Cancer Foundation of New Zealand are getting going around the country. I'm Graham Woodside, and along with my colleague Raywin Pavia, who's our Support and Education Manager, we're pleased to be hosting this webinar with you tonight. So I'd like to introduce our presenters for the evening, Tim Webster, from Exercise as Medicine New Zealand, and Kris Tynan, his wife. They're partners in life and partners at work as they run the Exercise as Medicine business in Christchurch. So let me tell you a little bit about them by way of introduction. Kris and Tim are both exercise professionals with physical education diplomas. Kris from the University of Otago and Tim from Loughborough University in the UK. Kris has been working as a functional ageing specialist for the last 20 years. She's qualified as a cancer exercise specialist out of the USA, and she holds the Exercise for Management of Cancer qualification from the Edith Cowan University in Australia. So very highly qualified, Kris, aren't you, to deliver this program. And Tim has also got qualifications in exercise as medicine for cancer and specialises in the management of neurodegenerative conditions with exercise, and he also works with cardiac rehabilitation patients. So they're both incredibly well qualified to be leading this program for PCF and also providing this informative webinar tonight. So let's start with some, let's get into it and some of the questions. First of all, Tim, your exercise programs, they run under a charitable trust. Tell us a little bit more about that.
Well, thank you, Graham. Thanks for the invitation as well. The whole field of exercise as medicine has kind of expanded exponentially in the last decade or so. And exercise, you know, if exercise isn't a panacea for people living with long-term conditions, it's not far off. And so we've picked up on this over the last 5 years or so. I started with a friend of mine who got Parkinson's 4 or 5 years ago and got involved in the field and started to use some of my physical education skills with him. And then we came across the cancer work, and we've been developing that obviously with yourselves. So we set up Exercise as Medicine New Zealand 3 years ago. And it really three things that we wanted to cover. One is we wanted it to house our own hands-on work with all of the long-term conditions that we work with. The second is that we want to train other exercise professionals to come to the party, and that's very much part of the Prost-FIT template, if you like, going forward. So we want to bring the health and fitness industry to the party. And the third thing is that we wanted to be able to have conversations with Exercise New Zealand, Register of Exercise Professionals, and organisations like Prostate Cancer Foundation. So that's really the background behind Exercise as Medicine.
So 18 months ago, you began developing an exercise program specifically for men with prostate cancer. Tell us a bit about the pilot program that you've been running in Christchurch.
It kind of came about semi-accidentally in that I saw in the local paper an advertisement for a support group that was running in Christchurch. So I said to Tim, why don't you get down there and check it out, because this is just the sort of area that we're interested in. So he went down, met up with the guys in the support group and their partners, and kind of got them a little bit interested. The following month we were invited to go back, but Tim couldn't make it. So I headed on down there and sat next to a guy called Tekka. When it was my turn to stand up, I stood up and sort of explained that we wanted to run a pilot program, and that, you know, can any of you sort of see yourselves doing that? Tekka, can you? Tekka, bless him, said, oh yeah, okay. So he got up and sort of eyeballed a couple of other guys, and a couple of the wives elbowed their husbands. And before long, we did have a team of about 8 or 9 men who came along and did the pilot program. The average age was 69, so they ranged in age from 57 to 79. They were all at different stages of treatment. Someone like Tekka, for example, had been diagnosed back in 2006, but others had just embarked on some treatment or just finished it. So they were at all ages and stages. We ran it for 8 weeks. It was very successful. Physically, they made improvements. We tested some things there, but also mentally, and socially, they got a heck of a lot out of it. So it was a very successful pilot as far as we were concerned.
Yeah, so that just ran for, what, 8 or 10 weeks or something like that with this group of guys. What did they make of it in the end? I know you did some sort of surveys and things like that towards the end of it. Were they happy with it, satisfied, enthusiastic?
They were, and I've gone back to the report and had a look at what some of them said. Okay, it's personal experience, but here's one, for example. I found the pilot Prost-FIT excellent. The range of exercises, both physical and mentally, were challenging but not exhausting, and to be in the company of other men with the same condition takes away many excuses and provides scope for friendship to develop. And another comment from another guy, our time spent is thoroughly absorbing and it's fun too in the company of the guys in the group. There are laughs and encouragements, the satisfaction of nailing it, or at present even just about getting it. So yeah, I think it's fair to say that they got a lot more out of it than they thought they would, certainly socially and in terms of camaraderie and being around guys that were going through similar things as they were or had done.
Mm. So let's step back a little bit and talk about why exercise is really important, in this case for men with prostate cancer. Is it just a novelty? Is it just something that's good for general health, or is there more than that? Why is it really important? And what's the evidence, if any, for the benefits of it? Tim?
Well, look, the evidence for exercise as medicine in general, and specifically for cancer, is just overwhelming. Just as an exercise, I Googled exercise oncology this afternoon and got 86 million results in 0.45 seconds, which I thought was impressive until I Googled cute cats and got 354 million results in 0.55 seconds. But 86 million is a lot. And what I wanted to do was just pick on one piece of research. I won't overwhelm you, and forgive me for reading this, but this is from a paper that was published a couple of years ago by the Clinical Journal of Oncology. And it says exercise increases cancer survival rates by 50 to 60%, with the strongest effect being for breast, colorectal, and prostate cancer. 50 to 60% is huge. This is not a 10% thing. This is massive. And it speaks really to the point that I was trying to make at the start. If exercise isn't now on everybody's radar, then we're missing a trick. And we'll talk a little bit later about whether it is on everybody's radar, because I believe we are missing a trick, but that's for a later question. And in terms of what exercise contributes to this whole thing in terms of effectiveness, we're looking at improving surgical outcomes, improving the effectiveness of chemotherapy and radiotherapy, improving and helping with managing the side effects of chemotherapy, radiotherapy, and hormone treatment, and also handling comorbidities or other conditions. And one of those is heart disease, which tends to go along with it. So we're looking at exercise have a massively powerful effect on all of those four areas.
Yeah. And we're just going to show a little video from the ABC in Australia, which really bears that out.
Our bodies are making potential cancer cells all the time, but our immune system regularly finds them and destroys them. Crucial to our tumour defence force are so-called natural killer cells. They're one of the only cell types that can recognise threats generated by our own bodies and call in an attack. It's one of life's great mysteries why some cells slip past our defences and begin to grow. So our own immune system is still one of the best ways to fight the cancer. The trouble with chemo is, at the same time as it's poisoning our tumour cells, it's also wrecking our immune system. Which brings us to a small but remarkable study conducted in Sweden and published in 2013. A group of 10 average healthy young men were exercised on a bike for 60 minutes. Their blood was taken before the exercise and also straight after. The before and after bloods were then spun down to extract the clear serum and poured over laboratory lines of prostate cancer cells to see if they would grow. Incredibly, The serum taken straight after exercise suppressed the cancer cell growth by 30%.
That particular study is landmark because what it has done is it's woken up the scientific community to say there is something produced during exercise systemically. So the muscles are producing chemicals which are going to all parts of the body and they're actually destroying tumour cells.
Then, in early 2016, another study in Denmark gave us an even clearer picture of what's going on. The study involved mice with cancer. They were split into two groups. One was given unlimited access to a running wheel, the other was not. And just to be thorough, the researchers tried this experiment in 5 different kinds of mouse cancer models, from lung cancer to liver cancer to melanoma. You can see clearly here what happened. These are from the lung cancer mice. The black stain is cancer. Look at the difference when they've exercised. Across all 5 experiments, exercise reduced tumour growth by 60 to 70%. Then, when they looked inside the tumour cells, they saw this. The tumours of the exercising mice were chock full of natural killer cells.
That's amazing. What is changing in the body through exercise that makes these natural killer cells more active, be able to seek out the tumour and then attach to the tumour and destroy it?
The result would be striking enough, but the Danish researchers went much further. They were able to demonstrate how exercise did it, what sort of signal it was releasing to make the natural killer cells attack the cancer. First signal, adrenaline. Adrenaline, produced during exercise, activates the natural killer cells to be released into the bloodstream. They're now primed for surveillance and looking for a target. That information then comes via the muscles. Exercise causes muscles to release a chemical signal called interleukin-6. Interleukin-6 not only seeks out the tumour cells directly, informing them to cease and desist, it also tells the natural killer cells what to target. There are many other physiological mechanisms involved, but this study shows so clearly exactly how exercise can upregulate the immune system and make it better at fighting cancer.
The exciting thing is that it's actually the body generating its own chemotherapy, if you like. It's generating its own anti-cancer drugs.
So back to our webinar. So some fascinating material there. Tim, in Australia, actually, they prescribe exercise as part of the recovery, and it's funded and all that sort of thing, which unfortunately is not the case here in New Zealand. But it really is that important, isn't it?
Yeah. So a lot of the research going on worldwide is conducted out of Australia. So we'll call it Australasian, shall we? Rob Newton is one of the major players, and Prue Cormier is the other one out of Adelaide, which is great. But and the Clinical Oncology Society of Australia have actually recently published a position statement, which has been brought into by, I think, 20 organizations in the field. And forgive me for reading this, but the 2 things that are really important is that they want exercise to be embedded as part of standard practice in cancer care. That's what they're calling for. And oncologists to refer their patients to health professionals who specialize in the prescription and delivery of exercise for cancer. Those are 2 big things. And it really speaks to my kind of bugbear around all of this. The people who are best positioned to refer are the oncologists. They're the clinicians, and then the nurses. We are downstream and we can do all the marketing we like, and the support groups can help out. But if we have oncologists and nurses actually building exercise into the referral process, then we're away and running. Right now, only about 5% of men with prostate cancer have any form of structured exercise. We need to increase that number dramatically. So I actually put this point to one of the urologists in Christchurch, and he agreed with what I was saying. And his point was a fair one. He said, I don't know who to refer to. I don't know. And that's fair. There haven't been a huge number of programs around. So we're kind of rectifying that, and we certainly have done in Christchurch. And I've gone and spoken to the clinicians and put leaflets out, et cetera, et cetera. So we haven't had anything back from it yet, but I remain hopeful. So in terms of your question, and I would just at this moment in time like to, when I say that we're not getting referrals from nurses, Jenny Corbin was very much the founder of everything that went on. I don't know if Jenny's on this call, but I'd like to pay just tribute to Jenny. She started this whole thing, and for those of you who don't know, Jenny's a cancer nurse out of Taranaki. And she started this whole process, but she's one of very few. And is it important? Yes, it is really important. And if we believe that exercise is as powerful as it is, then why aren't the clinicians and the nurses banging on our door? That's my little rant over for you.
So let's talk a little bit about what you've seen from men who've had treatment, prostate cancer treatment, or they continue to have treatment with hormone therapy or other treatments like chemotherapy and things. There's often side effects. What have you seen as some of the benefits of exercise in the class that you've been running?
Yeah, the men who have had hormone treatment, I really sympathise with them, because for them it's like going through the menopause, and which means they can gain weight, they can have hot flushes, they can have mood swings, all of those things, which is quite sort of distressing for a man because they've never really experienced the hormonal changes that women have over the years. But if they also have surgery, they'll have pelvic floor issues, so they'll have incontinence issues. Pretty much you're a lucky guy if you get away without having that following surgery, and that can be incredibly distressing as well. Now, exercise can help with all of those things. Pelvic floor certainly needs work on. They also can get very tired with chemo and radiotherapy, with those kind of treatments. So fatigue is an issue, and exercise kind of, it's not intuitive, but it absolutely helps with fatigue. And then they've got long-term side effects, such as reduced bone density, so the chance of osteoporosis. Now, exercise is fundamental to helping osteoporosis, as well as some medication, and also loss of muscle tissue. So, you know, your poor guy who's going through some treatment there, the chances are that they'll be getting kind of weaker, reducing their muscle tissue, their bones are getting more brittle, they're having hot flushes, it's a raft of really quite sort of distressing symptoms. But exercise can work on all of those things and improve things. So, you know, there's absolutely no question that resistance exercise is very important. So is cardio, and balance work as well, because with some of these treatments and with the age of your average prostate cancer male, the chances are their balance is getting a little kind of dodgy anyway. And they'll be on probably quite a lot of medication, because it's rare that they have just one issue, i.e. their prostate cancer. They'll have other issues, as Tim alluded to earlier, cardiac, arthritis, you name it, you know, quite a few other things going on. So exercise can help with all of those symptoms, the short-term immediate ones and the longer-term issues as well.
So we'll talk about the sort of issues in a minute, but I just want to sort of break in, and just a reminder to the audience here, if you've got some questions, Raven's here, and she's going to be looking after managing the questions. And so if you've got questions, type them in for us and send them through, and Raven will put those to our panelists. So let's talk a little bit, Tim, about the sort of exercises that you're doing actually in the prostate class. Is it just like going to the local gym, or something different, something more tailored to the sort of guys that are there?
Working out at your local gym by yourself is an acquired taste, and none of our men have acquired it. So what they're looking for is something that's enjoyable and entertaining. And our job is to cover all of the areas that Kris has spoken about, so balance and strength and et cetera, but in ways that keep them motivated and are fun. So we'll borrow from anything. We have music involved, we have lots of ball games involved, we have lots of games involved. We'll look at Tai Chi, we'll have meditation, we'll have yoga. So lots of different disciplines to try and mix it up. We do also spend a little bit of time in the gym. And so that's when we get a bit more serious. So we'll spend about 10 or 15 minutes in any given class. We'll go down to the gym. And I'd like to say that if you came into that gym tomorrow, you would see all of our guys with very good technique, all working on strength training, because that's a critical part. So yes, we have fun. Yes, it has to be enjoyable. Yes, we laugh a lot. But underpinning that is some fairly serious work. And if we can mix all of that up, then we keep them coming back. And our retention rate for these men right from the pilot stage has been pretty high.
Yeah. And I've seen some videos, and you're actually doing some brain exercises and coordination and things like that as well.
Yeah, the work that's been done on neuroplasticity over the last 10 to 15 years has just exploded, because they're able to take better images of the brain during exercise to find out exactly what's happening. And what they've discovered is that previously we thought that we had a limited number of brain cells, and they started to decline at a fairly early age, and we never got them back. But they've realized that that's actually bunkum. We can forge and make new neural pathways at any age. Now that has implications for learning and for memory and cognition and executive function and all of those brainy things that we want to keep hold of for as long as possible. So we do a lot of brain training. We throw it in with balance and agility and games and teamwork and all of those things as well. But there is a lot of brain work going on. And the men rise to it. They love it. It's a really good part of the class.
And so take us through a typical Prost-FIT class. What's happening? Is it all serious stuff? You mentioned before the guys are enjoying it. They're having fun. Tell us, just run us through a typical program.
Yeah, they're having a lot of fun. As Tim said, we do kind of pull them back and make them work quite hard, or sometimes when they're working hard they actually haven't got the capacity to make fun of each other. But we do balance, we do strength, we do cardio, agility, all of those things are thrown in. In fact, you've got a video coming up, I think, that might demonstrate it quite well.
Welcome to Prost-FIT, the exercise program that's been specifically designed for men living with prostate cancer. Prost-FIT was developed by Exercises Medicine New Zealand in conjunction with the Prostate Cancer Foundation of New Zealand. This is the story of how a few good men became a lot of good men, and why Wednesdays at 1 o'clock are sacrosanct. Let's kick off with a word from Tekka, who's one of the founding members of Prost-FIT, which sums up, we think, how a lot of Kiwi blokes view the whole support group thing.
My partner was saying to me, you need to go along to these sort of things, these... and I said, nah, I don't need to go there. Only a bunch of old guys who want to... Everybody have their problems and have their stories to tell. I don't want to go in there and listen to their dying stories. And yeah, she just conned me into going. And it was absolutely the best thing I ever did.
I won't bore you to death with evidence for the impact of exercise on cancer. There's lots of it. But here's one line from a prominent piece of research that sort of sums it all up. 50 to 60% is a big number. The problem isn't that we don't know that exercise is the right thing to do. It's that we don't know what to do, or we can't get motivated, or it reminds us of the old school gym, or we'd rather stick needles in our eyes, or all of the above. Which is why the first rule of any Prost-FIT class is it must be fun. If it isn't fun, we won't have a class for very long. Okay, so having fun is mandatory, but there's also a serious side to what we do, and that's encapsulated pretty well by Steve Bush.
The number of men diagnosed with prostate cancer has risen by 24% in just 2 years, prompting this message from 58-year-old Steve Bush, who was diagnosed 2 years ago.
If you do nothing, if you don't discover it early, the biggest side effect you're going to get is a coffin.
But these men are all still alive and laughing.
But having fun without addressing any of the physical and cognitive challenges that prostate cancer presents isn't going to get us very far either. So here are a few of the things that we try and include in an average Prost-FIT session. Resistance and impact exercises can help to address the side effects of hormone therapy, in particular muscle loss, reduced bone density, mood swings and depression. It's also fair to say that a little boxing or pumping iron helps to reinforce a sense of masculinity. We also include a cardio component that gets you puffing a bit, and given that cardiovascular disease is often associated with prostate cancer, This will help to look after your heart and lungs. Incontinence can be an issue for some men, so we build in some pelvic floor work. The same with balance, which tends to get compromised with age as well. Not sure what these guys are looking for by their feet, but never mind. We also work pretty hard on agility and coordination, although you wouldn't think so from this shot. We didn't know how a bit of meditation and relaxation would go down, but we thought we'd give it a try. They love it. Every Prost-FIT session combines a cognitive element and a physical element, and that keeps them on their toes. And by wrapping it up with coffee at the end, Prost-FIT becomes a support group in its own right. What we've come to realise is that a shared collective experience built around an exercise and activity theme is hugely powerful, isn't it, Lisa?
This Prost-FIT class has made such a difference to the physical and mental health of all the men here that Prostate Cancer New Zealand is hoping to roll it out across the country.
If you'd like to know more about hosting Prost-FIT, contact Jen Johnston by email or by phone and visit the Prost-FIT page on our website. And in conclusion, well, I don't think you can get a much stronger message than this. Do you?
I mean, to say in 2004, the guy, doctors, they all gave me only 3 months to live. Not bad, eh? I'm still here.
He's a great man, that Tigger, isn't he?
That's his heart.
Yeah.
Gonna have to start to pay him soon.
He'll be watching us tonight and he'll be embarrassed that we're showing his little video there, but good on him.
He won't.
You'll love it. Okay, so look, you've got a really great thing going in Christchurch, but let's talk now a little bit our plans with the foundation to develop a network of Prost-FIT groups around New Zealand. As I said right at the beginning, we've been working with Tim and Kris, planning this for some time, and we're ready now to launch that in other centres. The way that it works is that Tim and Kris have developed a specialised training program for registered exercise professionals. And now we're looking for groups of people interested in having a group in their town or in their suburb. So we need to hear from you wherever you are and wherever there's some interest. And then we'll work to identify an exercise professional locally and work on the logistics of getting a group started. So any more comments about that, Tim, Kris?
My comment really is the success of the Christchurch program has been not in any little part due to the support of the support groups themselves. So it's absolutely critical. I mean, to the point, I think, where we won't go into an area unless we have good support from support groups. And if that happens, and people, not just their verbal support, but actually physically coming along to the classes, once you get some traction with the support groups, then other people start to join. But their importance can't be underestimated. Yeah.
Rowan, I see there's a question there.
Yes, so both Tim and Kris might like to comment on this. This gentleman from Katikati says, in Tauranga in 2020, after prostate surgery, I and another group of men were invited by the Cancer Society to take part in an 8-week exercise program taken by a qualified trainer. The outcome was fantastic and increased bladder control and general fitness. I would love to do this again. The Cancer Society does not seem to do this now. I will join any program in a heartbeat. And I think what's fantastic about this is that we have just started a new Prostate Cancer Foundation support group in Tauranga. Our previous webinar we had just 4 weeks ago was introducing the 2 coordinators, which is Ian Armstrong and Pete Robertson. And I think that's fantastic that there looks like there's some already local interest in that. So Tim and Kris, how would you suggest that, you know, gentlemen pick this up now and sort of really start getting it together?
I think we need to work through that support group that's been established, and I'm not sure if the gentleman is part of that, but certainly if you can pick up details and bring him into the loop. The next stage for us then would be to seek qualified exercise professional or a facility with qualified professionals, and we would then go through a selection process and a training process, and hopefully get a program up and running pretty quickly. So, you know, it's really nice to hear from people who've felt the benefits of exercise, and it's great to hear that there are other exercise professionals out there doing a good job. So well done them. Yeah, you've stirred our interest, and if you stay in touch, I'm sure Raywin will get in touch with you. Then let's see if we can develop something locally for you.
Yeah, I mean, it's worth mentioning as well that the online Prost-FIT program, if you like, to upskill exercise professionals who want to be involved with this but have not done any specific training on cancer or prostate cancer. And that will hold true for pretty much every exercise professional who's just got a personal training type qualification, because they don't cover it in any great detail, which is part of, as Tim said earlier, our reason for setting up exercise as medicine, to create an opportunity for people to upskill themselves so that they can bring exercise in a safe and meaningful way to the people with living with these sort of conditions. So that course has just gone online, and we've advertised it through our register of exercise professionals. We've had I think 3 or 4 actually go through the course so far, all of whom we're really pleased with it, gave us really great feedback. And I will have to look back and see if any of them are from that area, but off the top of my head, I don't think so, but they were all North Islanders. So I think as word gets out to our register of exercise professionals that they've got this opportunity, we'll get more people taking up that course. The ideal thing would be that someone from Tauranga does it, and we go, perfect, we'll match you up. That's the ideal, but we can go the other way around as well. We can go, as Tim said, to the facilities there, to the gyms, to the local authority sites if there are any there, and also to personal trainers that we know could do a good job.
That's great. That's fantastic. We've actually got some other comments here too. Somebody's put in the Cancer Society at Taranaki Centre does offer a program of this nature. So, I mean, that's fantastic as well. We do have another one here. You only do 1 session a week in Christchurch. Do you think this is adequate?
Yes, but we know who that is. That's one of our men. Thank you, Graham, for that. Thank you. No, we'd love to do more, Graham, obviously down the track. And also, I've got to say, Graham comes from quite a long way away, as do many of the men. They come from, at least, a 20, 30-minute drive, even longer, isn't it? So, we really appreciate their support. It's worth it, though.
Yeah. Look, if we had the numbers, we'd do one every day. But yeah, I mean, certainly twice a week is great. And let's be realistic that just doing this class isn't enough by itself. So all of our men go away and they do their home exercise, and I think all of them have been stimulated to do a lot more work outside of the gym than they ever did before. So it has knock-on effects.
Yep. So there'll be a number of people watching this tonight who are in one of our support groups and know about the support groups that we have, the work that Raywin heads up. It's a key feature of the services that we provide as a foundation. And so what we're looking to do is add on the Prost-FIT classes as another key service that we provide as a foundation, because the sad reality is, as these guys have been talking about tonight, is that so many guys do not exercise, and they could benefit so much from it during their treatment and following their treatment if they knew how to do it and there was a facility available for them to do it. So let me say, if you are in a support group, in one of our support groups, or another Cancer Society support group for that matter, and you can see an opportunity to engage others with you and get a group going to start a Prost-FIT group, please let us know. Get our contact details off the website or off the promotion that we've done for this, and we'll get the wheels in motion so that something can happen.
I think, Graham, just one other thing. I think that Taranaki comment was probably Jenny Corbyn's program.
I'm sure.
Original one. So that's great. All credit to Jenny.
Absolutely. Ken and Tim and Chris, have you actually thought of writing up your program that you have been working on? Because, I mean, we talk about overseas experience and the Australian experience, but it would be fantastic to actually see some evidence coming out of New Zealand. Is this something that you've sort of thought about?
Well, we've done a report on the pilot, but along with everything else that we're doing, Raywin, I'm not entirely sure we've got time. But yeah, it would. Do you mean to produce a paper on the results that we're getting? Would that be the question? Yeah. I think that would be a great idea. I think that, you know, this is hopefully New Zealand's in some ways leading the way a little bit in this. And you're right, it would be nice to have something coming out of New Zealand that works. I think what tends to happen in Australia is that they deal with exercise physiologists. And we don't have many exercise physiologists in New Zealand. We have some, but we don't have many. And so what we're trying to do is to bring this to exercise professionals, and we do have an awful lot of those. So in that sense, and in the sense of the way the class is constructed, I think around the fun and entertainment thing, I think we might be a little bit ahead of the game. So good idea. We'll put it down.
We have got some more comments here. One is from, and I'm sure I can name her as she's put her name there, Jenny Corbin, saying, hello, when men sign up and turn up, very few stop going. I would love to encourage all men to give it a go. And I'm pretty sure we would all endorse that. That's fantastic. We have another comment here also from Chris Ward saying, prior to PC, I did the gym thing. I gave up as I lacked the support and motivation. And joining the pilot group for Prost-FIT was the best thing I did. I'm still going and really enjoying the exercises and the fun of the group. Fitness improves, health improves, and I'm motivated to keep going. And I think this so endorses what you've been talking about tonight, and the massive benefits. And here's the evidence from the people that have been, the men that have been participating. It's fabulous.
One thing I'd add, Rowan, to that, is the social side we haven't really mentioned, but the coffee afterwards is pretty important, and the local cafe benefits every Wednesday afternoon from our services, and so that it becomes very much a support group in its own right. And you'd be amazed at how many men in the early parts of their journey get strength from just talking to the other guys, just informally, and it works extremely well from that perspective.
I just want to make another little comment about Dry July. The Prostate Cancer Foundation this year is very fortunate to be one of the recipients of the fundraising through the Dry July program, and the funds that that are being raised through that are actually going to fund the establishment of this Prost-FIT program. So if you're out there and you're doing Dry July, well done you. If you're not doing it and you want to support some people, well then there's a couple of people on screen like Raywin and me who would love you to support us or to support the Prostate Cancer Foundation team. You can get the details of that off our website because we really want to make this a success, this program, and it does need funding. And Dry July have come to the party, depending on the funds that are raised through this year's Dry July campaign. So yeah, things work, link in together to benefit everybody. Any final comments? And then I think we'll be starting to wrap this up.
I've got one more comment here that's come in from the audience. This gentleman is just saying there is a big support group in Katikati, and there has been a free exercise group run by a local physical trainer, and we certainly know that the Rod Calver group in Katikati have really embraced this and have done for a number of years, and are very, very positive about their exercise group, but also, like you were saying, Tim, about that social element and how that really provides that support to each of those that are attending.
Yeah. Yep. My wrap up would just be, Graham, that I've said this on a couple of occasions, that we deal with a lot of national bodies and national associations, and I think prostate cancer is extremely fortunate to have an organisation as proactive and as well organised as the one that you head up. So many congratulations on the work that you do.
Oh, thank you, and thank you for you guys. I mean, you took the initiative right at the beginning to get this going, to get in touch with us, and it's a great partnership, and we just really want to see it flourish and grow. So, thank you, Chris and Tim, for your expertise and your insights that you've shared with us tonight. We really appreciate it. Raven, appreciate your help in hosting it as well. If you're not part of one of our support groups, there's about 38 of those around the country now. All the details are on our website at prostate.org.nz. or there's a Facebook page where you can get information as well. And so please, certainly if you have a little bit of interest in getting a Prost-FIT class going where you are, please make contact, and we'll work with you in your area to try and get that going. So thank you to our audience. Thank you for joining us today. What will happen is we'll send you an email link, an email with a link to this webinar because it's being recorded, and also a survey, because we really appreciate getting your feedback from the webinar so that the ones that we do in the future, we can do them even better than this one. So thank you again, everybody. We wish you well. Keep safe, and good night from us. Thank you very much.